We are going to discuss illustrations of quadratic equations. So our objectives are define a quadratic equation, write quadratic equation in a standard form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, and identify the real numbers a, b, and c. So again, observing the following equation, I just regroup them. So on the right side, those equations are not linear. So those equations on the left sides are linear equation. So if the equation at the right are not linear, then we call that quadratic equation. So what do you think is the difference between the two equations? So by the definition of the linear equation, those are equations with degree 1, while in quadratic equation, that is what we are going to discuss in this topic. So again, the question is, what is quadratic equation? So quadratic equation in one variable is a mathematical sentence of degree 2 that can be written in the following standard form. So we have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a, b, and c are real numbers and a is not equal to 0. So what is the standard form of quadratic equation? So that is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Take note that in standard form, a should be a positive real number. Okay, again, quadratic equation in standard form is written in ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So the question is, what are the parts of quadratic equation in standard form? So we are going to identify the parts of quadratic equation so that you can identify the values of a, b, and c. So ax squared, which is the first term, is what we call the quadratic term. Then the second term, which is bx, is the linear term, and c is what we call the constant term. So in identifying a, b, and c, you are just going to get the coefficient of each term. So now let us identify a, b, and c given the following equation. So we have the first equation, x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals 0. So by the way, you can pause this video if you can do it alone. So let us answer. So as you can see, 4x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals 0. A is 1. Since we all know that all variables have a coefficient of 1. Then b is negative 4. Then c is positive 4. So to rewrite the final answer in identifying a, b, and c, we have a equals 1, b is negative 4, c is positive 4. Next, we have 2x squared plus 5x minus 3 equals 0. So a is 2, b is 5, c is negative 3. Then next is 4s squared minus 16 equals 0. So take note, this is still quadratic equation, although we only have two terms, the quadratic term and the constant term. So what are we going to do with this identifying a, b, and c? So since we have a quadratic term 4s squared, its coefficient is 4. Then, since b is not given, you are going to write 0 as the value of B. Then C is negative 16. Okay, next, for the last equation, we have 1 half x squared plus 2x equals 0. So 1 half here is the coefficient in quadratic term. So therefore, A is 1 half. Then B is 2. So since we do not have constant term, then C is equal to 0. Okay. Next is write the given quadratic equation in standard form and identify A, B, and C. So in this equation, we have x squared plus x equals 4. So since this is not yet in standard form, we are going to rewrite this equation in standard form. So x squared plus x equals 4, that is the given. Then x squared plus x plus negative 4 equals 4 plus negative 4. So we apply here addition property of equality, wherein we add negative 4 to both sides for us to remove positive 4 on the right side. So let us now simplify to rewrite this in standard form. So we have x squared plus x minus 4 equals 0. So since we have this already, the standard form, let us now identify A, B, and C. So A is 1, B is 1, and C is negative 4. Okay, next equation is 3x times the quantity x minus 2 equals 10. So this is the given. So what we are going to do is to distribute or use distributive property. So 3x times x, we have 3x squared. Then 3x times negative 2, we have negative 6x. Then just write equals 10. So use addition property of equality. So positive 10 on the right side becomes negative 10 on the left side since we use addition property of equality. So therefore, the standard form is 3x squared minus 6x minus 10 equals 0. So to identify the values of A, B, and C, we have A equals 3, B is negative 6, C is negative 10. So next, we have 2x plus 5 times the quantity negative x plus 1 equals 6. So this is the given. So we are going to use the FOIL method. So FOIL method stands for first term or the product of the first term, the outer term, inner term, and the last term. So first term 2x times negative x. So we have negative 2x squared. Then next for the outer term 2x and positive 1. So we have positive 2x. Next is the inner term 5 and negative x. So it gives us the product of negative 5x. And for the last term 5 and 1, so it gives us positive 5. So that is equal to 6. Now, let us simplify this equation. So for us to simplify this equation, we are going to use addition property of equality, same of what we did on the previous problem. or just simply transpose positive 6 to the left side, and it gives us negative 6. So we have negative 2x squared minus 3x plus 5 minus 6 equals 0. So again, let us simplify this equation since 5 and 6 are similar terms. So it gives us negative 2x squared minus 3x minus 1 equals 0. So that is for multiplication property of equality, which we have to multiply each term by negative 1 for us to have positive values of a. So therefore, the standard form is 2x squared plus 3x plus 1 equals 0. So we have already the standard form. We can now identify the values of a, b, and c. So we have a is 2, b is 3, then c is positive 1. Okay? Okay, so let's think of this. Consider the equation 2x squared plus 3x minus 6 equals 0. So what is a in the equation? So since this is already written in standard form, you can easily identify the values of a, b, and c. So a in this equation is positive 2. So if a is equal to 0, will the equation still be a quadratic? The answer is no. Because if a is equal to 0, the quadratic term becomes 0. So the remaining equation will only be 3x minus 6 equals 0. So therefore, that is, a should not be equal to 0. Next, what is b in the equation? So b is 3. So since b is equal to 3, will the equation be quadratic if b equals 0? The answer is yes, because we still have the quadratic term or degree 2. What is c in the equation? So c is negative 6. So therefore, the next question is, if c is equal to 0, will the equation still be quadratic? So we still have the answer yes. Okay, it's your turn. By the way, you can pause this video to do it alone. So for the given equation, we have number 1, 4x times the quantity x plus 8 equals 15. So let us have the distributive property. 4x times x is 4x squared. Then 4x times 8, we have positive 32. X then transpose positive 15. So it gives us negative 15 equals 0. So this is already in standard form. So it is quadratic equation. Then next we have x cubed plus 5x minus 26 equals 0. Since the degree of this equation is 3, therefore it is not quadratic equation. Then next, number 3, if you are going to rewrite this using distributive property, 3 times m is 3m. 3 times negative 14 is negative 42, then equals 0. Still, we do not have a degree 2, so therefore, this is not quadratic equation. Then next, if you are going to rewrite this using distributive property, again, we have 2t times t. It gives us 2t squared. Then 2t minus or times negative 7, we have negative 14t. Then, just transpose negative 3t, so it gives us positive 3t. Then, just write equals 0. So, as you can see, since we have still similar term, negative 14t and 3t, we have to simplify this. So, negative 14t plus 3t, so it gives us negative 11. So, this is quadratic equation. So, next, last problem, we have x minus 7 times the quantity x plus 7 equals 0. So, using FOIL method, we have x squared minus 49 equals 0. So, that is quadratic equation. So, as you can see, the quadratic equation are number 1, number 4, and number 5 because they are all in degree 2. Okay. Okay, next we have to rewrite the quadratic equation in standard form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 and identify the values of a, b, and c. So, you can pause this video if you can do it alone. So, for number 1, we have 6s minus 2s squared equals 0. So, the standard form is 2s squared minus 6s equals 0. A is 2, B is negative 6, and C is 0. So, since we do not have constant value in the quadratic equation. So, next, number 2, using distributive property, we have to distribute 3x to each term. So, 3x times x, it gives you 3x squared. Then 3x times 5, it gives you 15x. So, the standard form is 3x squared plus 15x minus 12 equals 0. So, we can now easily identify the values of a, b, and c. So, a is 3, b is 15, and c is negative 12. Next, number 3, x plus 4 times the quantity x plus 2 equals 0. Using the FOIL method, it gives us x squared plus 9x plus 14 equals 0. So, the values of a is 1, the values of b is 9, the values of c is 14. Okay, next, number 4. X minus 4 times the quantity x minus 4 equals 12. So, take note, we still have a constant value on the right side of this equation. So, we still have to simplify this equation after getting the product of these two binomial. So, using FOIL method, again, we have x squared minus 8x plus 16. But since we still have 12 here, transpose 12, it becomes negative 12. So, to simplify the equation, we have x squared minus 8x plus 4 equals 0. So, a is 1, b is negative 8, and c is positive 4. So, next, number 2m plus 2 times the quantity m plus 3 equals 0. So, using, again, a FOIL method, the standard form is 2m squared plus 8m plus 6 equals 0. So, a is 2, b is 8, then c is 6. Okay, so